Today's guest is someone who's not only one of the top performing agents in the country, but also one of my best mates and one of our closest family friends, Will Phillips.
Thanks, mate.
Will is the principal of Sotheby's Byron Bay, and this is just my recollection, in just a few short years has become the #1 agent in this market. But what makes his story powerful isn't just the success, it's what I know about him, and it's the decision he made in Sydney many years ago. At the peak of Will's career, he hit a moment that perhaps a few people hit, and he started to question why he was doing it all, what society was asking of him.
Yep.
And instead of pushing harder, he did the opposite. He stepped away, he traveled Australia with his family for a year in a camper van, and he reset his life. He rebuilt everything from a completely different place. He's an elite performer, an incredible dad, a devoted husband, and one of the best humans I know.
Thanks, mate.
So today we're going to talk about family, ambition, identity, success, and what really makes a man tick when everything peels
Beautiful.
away.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I've always wondered what my intro would sound like when in a podcast.
How's that?
That's excellent. It's probably quite flattering, but it's really nice to be here.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Willie. I appreciate you being here.
Pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question first, and then we'll dive straight into it. So
Sure.
before we get into the big life stuff,
Yeah.
if your kids had to describe what you actually did for work, what would they say?
I like to tell them that I help people. I think they'd say I sell houses.
All three of them? Not Maxie.
Maxie wouldn't. Audrey and Coco would say, yeah, he sells houses. Yeah, which is cool. I mean, that's what we do.
Do they ask you about it?
Do they ask me about work? Not that much. No.
Do you shield them from work a little bit?
I do. So it's funny, growing up, my old man was, and I think about this a bit, he owned car yards, right? So, myself and Alex and all the other siblings, Charles, Tim, James and Susanna, we would hear Dad on the phone, and it was awesome. Like, I was actually speaking to someone about this the other day, and I mean, that stuff rubs off, right? Like, there's a reason why we all were awful in the HSC and not very academic, but very good with people, and understood giving good service and getting back to people and being charismatic, and from a sales side. So it's interesting when you ask if I shield them, because I think I want them to feel like the most important people when I'm there, and I just have a guilt, which might be too much, but I feel like when I'm on the phone, when they're there, I just feel guilty, And the second thing is I find it hard to concentrate when they're like, because they'll say stuff, and I'm like to the client, I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, fighting or laughing or screaming or whatever. So generally I'll shield them.
I have a funny story. I might get to it around.
Share it now.
Oh, okay. So it was the start of last year.
Yeah.
And there was a listing that I really wanted to get, and it was January. And Oscar kept peppering me when I was on the phone. And I said to him, I mean, Oscar's 6 at this stage, 6.5. I said, Oscar, I just need a minute. Like, please just give me a minute.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't stop. And I had the client on the phone, and I went to mute the phone, and I said to the client, just give us a sec. And I went to mute, but I put it on speaker. And I said to Oscar, just give me a minute. Just 1 minute,
That's classic.
Please. And I looked at my phone, and it's on speaker. And these were new parents.
That's
and I was
classic.
like, guys, I'm really sorry. I thought I muted you, but I
That
didn't.
is classic.
Yeah, I was so embarrassed.
We all crack. It's like, that relaxed agent that talks in podcasts. He's so relaxed. He's like, you fucking shut up.
Well, I was actually thinking, are they going to give me the business after that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a moment.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, right.
I sold it.
But it's interesting. I think I feel I find it hard when that blend. I find really hard. Like when I get home, I'll usually try and put the phone on flight mode, or just put it somewhere where even if it rings, I don't know about it. And then when they go to sleep, I'll often need to jump on and like finish a negotiation or something. But to do them simultaneously, I find impossible. You know what it's like, even if it's not work, if you're trying to concentrate on something and your kid is asking questions, you can't do both at the same time. And you get frustrated, annoyed without knowing why. And it's only because you're trying to do, so.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I complete.
Yeah.
Over the years, like I've dabbled with, do I merge the two worlds, like family and work? Do I try and separate the two? And like, I don't think there's an answer. I think the risk is if you want to be available all the time, and even if you feel like you've got it under control, like you don't know what call or what message is going to come in.
Yeah.
And then that call or message, if you see, can completely change the energy.
It's, your mental, you just go somewhere else.
And then all of a sudden you're trying to like put out a fire.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't even need to be put out.
Yeah.
That's just how our brain thinks. So,
Yeah.
okay.
But like listening to my dad on the phone, he was awesome. He was like, he would say, like, he'd have these sayings. He'd be like, oh, Mr. Will be back, will never be back. Just these little things that actually they applied today. But you'd hear it and he'd say it once and you're like, that's, and then he'd keep saying it, and this is like old school, no mobile phones, home phone, car dealership, no internet, all that sort of stuff. So it was really nice to hear.
Good exposure.
Yeah.
Can you give us just a quick, I want to dive back
Yeah.
and go back in time for a bit, but just, can you tell us where you're at right now? So
Yeah,
like your
that's
career.
not back in time,
your
that's now.
Yeah, no, tell us about now. Sorry, and then let's go back.
Yeah.
just where are you now?
So we started Sotheby's 18 months ago. We started, I think there were 5 staff that joined me at the time. We now have 15 staff, 14 actually, 15th will be next month. We're pretty much at capacity in terms of our seating. The decision which I can get into later, is how much I want to grow, how much, because that comes with time and then away from a lot of the reasons why I moved up here to begin with. 15 staff. The businesses, because you're asking about the numbers, the businesses GCI would be just under 10, and my personal GCI, my highest in Sydney was 4.1. For anyone who's not in real estate, that's not how much any agent earns. It's a shitload less, and you always get worried that people think that that's, what we earn. And so it was, my highest was 4.1, 4.2 in Sydney. And that was having people like Maclay in my team. Like it was, 6 people, like 100 and 150 sales. The GCI now is a fair bit higher than that, with doing a lot less, which was definitely one of the reasons why I left and started again. I didn't think, the aim wasn't to do more than I do in Sydney. It's just been a nice byproduct, mainly due to the average sale price here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to that and we'll unpack that. But in terms of like, I guess the credentials of the office and where you're at, like that's outstanding.
Yeah,
in
thanks.
18 months.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Thanks. Okay, so this is what I want to start to unpack with you now. So like, what did success mean to you in Sydney versus what it means to you now?
That's a really good question. I think, look, success in Sydney was what other people thought of me. That was it. I was just, I was more concerned about what everyone else thought than probably what my kids think of me. Success to me now means improving my wisdom, improving my knowledge, helping people. That was definitely part of it in Sydney. I always enjoyed doing that. Helping people, elevating people here, growing wisdom, and doing that all in a way, from a business point of view, doing that in a way where the greater success to me, which is leaving a good legacy for my kids, being a great dad, giving them the right values like my parents did. They were awesome at that. And probably finally, this is a long answer, memories, just creating memories. Because I learned in Sydney, if you tried to ask me what 2014 was like to 2018, or like give me a couple of years, they'd all blend in. They're all the same. Yeah. It was Groundhog Day. It was like sell the same properties, meet the same people, go to the same parties, drink the same alcohol, get, all that. Like it was literally life was on repeat. And I don't know. I want as many rich memories with me and the kids as possible.
So, and we're talking about, so this is 6 years ago, right? Because I remember you left 2019.
No, I left, it was COVID. So 2020 we left. September 2020, end of 2020.
Did you plan your exit in 2019 or was it 2020 when you started?
No, 2020. Yeah, I think in March we ordered the caravan and then we got it in July and left in September or something like that.
And from memory, you left and then everything got locked up with COVID, right?
Yeah.
So that was challenging in itself. What was there a specific moment back in 2020 when you thought like, why am I actually doing this?
Yep, there was. There actually was. So I think when I had kids, that was a huge catalyst. That wasn't the answer. That's not the answer to the question you just asked, but that planted a seed in my head. Having kids started for me to question what I'm actually doing. Like I said, I was caring about what other people thought. I had a house that I couldn't really afford, cars that I couldn't really afford. And I knew that because the market changed. And then I needed to basically sell them because I was earning a shitload less in commission and a high mortgage, right? So after that, renting a house for a year was probably the happiest I'd been up until that point for a long time because the stress and the pressure, it eradicated. It's like I'm sort of invincible now because I can choose what I do and no one can really hurt me. My dad used to always says, "Owe nobody, fear nobody," which I think is a really good saying. Then Ivan, who was the principal at McGrath at Bresic Whitney at the time, it was Ivan and Shannon were the two major shareholders. I was then the third below them, and he said that he wanted to move to LA and he wanted to sell, and we needed to figure out whether the company would buy Ivan's shares, or we would have to go out to the external market and see if there would be someone who would buy the whole thing. What that meant is if that happened, I would be forced to sell my shares, which you would usually think your reaction would be, fuck, like, I love this place. My reaction after like 24 hours, I could sell out. I could get a decent pay. I'm not talking, not like, tens of millions, well under 5. But I'm like, what would that look like? What's starting again look like? And then it was like, well, if I feel like that, why am I here in the first place? And then it actually started happening pretty quick.
So like, can I add a few pieces because I know you, right? So,
yeah.
And I say this from a place of like admiration. So you had the expensive house in Queen's Park in Sydney.
Yeah.
I remember you bought a brand new Porsche.
Yeah.
Super expensive.
Yeah. 330.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Renato had a Range Rover.
Yep.
So like you had from the outside looking in, you had everything.
Made me feel good. I'm like, people must think he's great. And I had role models that young, like Ivan was like that. Alex was like that, my brother. But the probably difference is they could probably afford it, right? There is a lot of agents now and in the past that they wanted to show that they didn't have the means. Like it was, you're faking it in my eyes because you can't afford it.
And then, am I correct in saying...
Not to say that wanting nice things as well is wrong, because I like nice things, but not at the sacrifice of all those other things.
Yeah, you're talking about living within your means, or at least establishing what is a correlation between wanting those things and whatever output it is that's required.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I'm not mistaken too, this is where I really admired you. You went from driving a Porsche to driving like a basic Audi 4 drive, which I thought most people would not have, like their ego wouldn't allow them to do it. And you did it. And I was like, I've never seen somebody do that. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, you sold...
Just to say though, a basic Audi 4 drive to most people is a nice car. This is the thing. When you're in that bubble, we think it's a huge, like that's an $80,000, $100,000 car. 80 probably is what it's worth. It was probably 80 grand or something.
Oh, right,
that's still that's a
nice
lot.
Car.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, so, but because of the environment you're in and what you're exposed to, it's just the one-upmanship. I've always got to be doing better. I've got to look like I'm improving, and it's the most toxic thing.
But that period too, you sold your house for a loss too, right?
Yep.
So you've sold your Porsche, you've sold your house for a loss, and then I think you told me that you had a pretty big tax bill too. Yeah. So you had all these things start to line up for you.
Yeah. And it's funny, like at the time, it wasn't a hard decision because we'd had Audrey at the time, my daughter, and I was just like, I don't know. I think the work that we did with Maya, I think I think just kind of surrendering, not having to keep up the ego was like the most liberating thing. It's also like if I heard someone else do that because they got kids, I'm like, how honourable is that? What a legend.
I thought
I think at the time I was like, that to do that for family rather than to hold on is it's a very important thing.
I really respected it. And
Yeah, thanks.
also, to an extent, I think Renata went from driving a Range Rover to something else as well. But you were both on board.
Yeah.
Like you were both, I was like, that is
Yeah. I mean,
unbelievable, the decisions that they're making.
That's the importance of the partner you pick.
Absolutely.
She was probably first, like, saying like, what are we doing? Who cares?
Yeah, I hear.
What were you going to say? You remember?
I remember you saying to me as well, when I asked you why you're doing all this, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I've got an expensive house, I've got an expensive car, expensive cars. What am I supposed to do? Buy an investment property, then another investment property, and another investment property? I remember you saying something like that, and you're like, I don't want any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think for me, I was like, where am I going here? It's like, even if I didn't sell those things, it's like, what's my end goal? Like, because I'd felt, I started at the same office at Bresic Whitney at 19. And at the time, then I would have been 34 or something, right? 35.
yeah,
I just felt like I hadn't really achieved much, or like I hadn't put myself out of my comfort zone. And that to me is like, that's the essence of living, like new experiences. So I just felt like, what's the end goal? Like I just keep upgrading houses and cars and working like a dog and not seeing my kids. It just seems stupid.
it's wild that you say that, because if I'm not mistaken, you were the top agent at Bresic Whitney.
Yeah.
I think you were the top agent in the country under 30
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
From the outside, it looked like you were absolutely flying.
Yeah.
But then internally, there's something else going on.
Yeah,
for
it's
you.
funny. Like, I don't think I was deeply unhappy at the time, right? Someone may say that's why I was drinking or going out, or that's why I'm buying these things to fill the void. I didn't actually feel that unhappy. Like I really enjoyed my life. I don't think I'd actually change anything about my 20s. But when it dawned on me that where am I going, and is this actually what I still want? The decision became pretty easy. I think the ability to do that always came with, I've never really attached myself to I don't know. I feel like for example, let's say I got a parking fine, right? I would just move on, like those sorts of things. I don't care about the little things. I don't know what it is. And my mum she's super positive, and it's like, what's done is done, move on. It was never like, I don't hang on to something that's kind of making me feel like that. So I think when I made that decision, or when I started feeling that in my head, it was pretty easy.
So was the decision scary? Because you're walking away, you still had income coming from Bresic Whitney.
No, I was honestly excited.
Is that
right? I trusted in my ability as well. But it's funny, but that's assuming I was going to do real estate. When I left, I thought I'd stop real estate. Because when you make that decision to being able to exit from a payout point of view and negotiation and all that sort of stuff, it is a long time. So I got jaded. I was like, get me out of here. Because when you're mentally, so I thought there was a good chance that I wasn't going to do real estate. And then I took a year off, and then I realised how lucky we have it.
So that year that you took off, so like what did traveling the country give you that, say, money or possessions, that money and possessions never could? What did it give you?
That's a good question. There would rarely be a day still that goes by that we don't say, or remember, like either I'll say it or I'll think it, remember what happened in this place or that place, or remember this person we met. And that's just such a beautiful thing. Like if you think about how often that happens in a work year, like the richness that comes with that every day, somewhere new, somewhere different, new people, out of your comfort zone, never camped before, living in a caravan, learning new stuff with the kids every day. So I think firstly, just from I think when I'm older, you can't take your money or anything. And if I want to talk to the kids about memories, I think those times you share, like they're just so precious.
Do the girls still mention it?
No, they wouldn't remember it. No, but it probably set a legacy of they love traveling, they love trying new things. They'll fly on and max, they'll fly for 20 hours. Not like they're really easy to travel with. So I think that sense of adventure may have been instilled with them, maybe not, but they're really comfortable in going to new places, which is cool. So that, and then it just highlighted the bubble we live in. Like Australia is huge. There's so many different types of people, and when you live and work in one environment, like you might go on a holiday and have an expensive holiday, and like everyone else does in Europe or whatever, but you're not really exiting your comfort zone or mixing with different people. You're kind of just going just changing areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was really special, and it highlighted to me how little people care about what's going on in real estate in the eastern suburbs or in the city.
So do you think that's like a real estate thing or just a cultural thing? Do you think the whole of society can end up in a bubble?
I think that's probably human nature if I had to guess. I think it's natural for when you work in it and that's your world, then it's hard to see beyond that. And I think someone in mining might think like that, and or a lawyer might think other people think they're really important. But I think when you step out, you realise that, people don't really care that you're an agent nor how much money you make.
How would you describe that trip?
Life-changing is the first thing I think of. Like, it changed. It was the best thing I've ever done. The problem is when I left school, I went straight into work. I did free work experience. I did Macleay College straight away, and then I did free work experience there. Then I got into leasing at Bresic Whitney. I'd never had that experience that, you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow. Like, that's such a cool feeling. Like, where, who am I going to meet? Where am I going to wake up? Well, where am I going to go? Like that next week, tomorrow, that's I don't know, that's just a special feeling. So a lot of people did those gap years. I would have loved to do that. So if I met anyone in my age, back then, if I'd spoke to myself or someone else, I'd say try and, before you get sucked in, particularly in real estate, right? Because once you're in, you cannot take an extended time off. It's almost impossible. So that to me is, that's why it was so good.
I was chatting to Ivan Bresic this morning, and he asked me a question. He said, if Oscar said to you, or Mimi said, that, whatever it is, they're 17, 18, they're a bit lost, what should they do for work? And my answer was just travel. Just keep traveling till you feel... I don't know what the answer is, but just travel. I didn't do it either, Willie.
Yeah.
I never, I literally was still doing my HSC exams, and I was so excited to work and earn money. Yeah. And you have to question, where does that come from? Like, why? Why does a 17-year-old want to put themselves in an adult workforce with such vigor? Where does that come from? Yeah. But I didn't do schoolies. I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah. I think that's a really good answer. I mean, traveling is. It's just, look. It could be. It doesn't have to be overseas. It can be anywhere. It's just a case of experiencing new things, and that just creates wisdom.
Agreed. What did you learn about yourself or about Renata on that trip?
That I like drinking alcohol way too much. It's like every day you pull up to a new place, campfire, beautiful sunset, no work for a year. It's way too easy to drink. I haven't had a drink for 3 years now. I would have had, 5 to 7 drinks on average a night, way too much. Just indulgence, right?
And junk food too, I think you said.
Junk food, everything, put on heaps of weight. Unhealthy, just living the good life. Like, it's hard. So what I realised, which sort of answers that, is I do need regimen. I like routine. I function well off routine. So it's nice to have it for a period, but I feel like things unravel, and my willpower isn't as strong as I thought. Right? Because people look at my work ethic and they and which is a really nice compliment I get. We were well raised. We weren't short for money or anything, but the work ethic is really strong from probably following my dad. But sometimes I'm like, I can kind of put my mind to anything. It's not the case. You kind of need steps in place to follow to keep you accountable. I learnt that. I learnt how fortunate we are in real estate to do what we do if you hit a certain level. Definitely learnt that. And I learnt that I would hate to be retired at this age, because after 6 months I got bored. I need a purpose.
I was going to ask you that. What was the downside of the trip?
Yeah, definitely probably more like 9 months. You're like, how much? Yeah, I need. Like I said at the start, you want to better yourself. It's like, what am I? How long can you just sit around and, yeah. So
what did that look like? So you get into whatever it is, 6-9 months, and then how long was your trip planned for? 12 months?
12 months, yeah.
Did you start considering maybe, what did you start, what were you feeling at that point? What did you want to do?
I intentionally didn't think about work for that first period, right? Because there was a beautiful quote which I read, which is about withdrawing. It's like, people will frown upon withdrawing, but it's an ancient thing where you'd step away and just kind of clear the decks. It's much more articulate than that, but
Yeah.
and you kind of see what you need from the world and what the world needs from you, right? And it's really hard to do that when you've got any attachments. Like if I wanted to think about my next step at Bresic, it would have been really difficult because everything's still coming at you. So I intentionally just switched off for 6 months, and then I'm like, I either work for myself or I work for someone else. Work for myself, going to have to be an entrepreneur, put in lots of money, risk it. If it doesn't work out, and probably work like a dog, right, to get it up. So therefore I'm going back to what I was like, won't see the kids, and then I've set us up financially where there's low stress, and if I blow that, then I'm back to square one. And it's like, all right, well then work for someone else, ask to take a holiday, ask to have a day off, ask to pick up the kids late. I'm like, I've had it too good being as an agent. You can pick your hours. That's really special. And then you look at the income you can make, all those things. Entrepreneur, I mean, the sky's the limit. Working for someone else, you're capped. So yeah, that highlighted to me real estate. So when after that 6 months, then I started probably just to look forward to finding my feet and getting stuck into it, which is a really nice thing to actually realise how lucky we have it. I mean, if that was the only outcome from that trip, that's awesome.
And then, so you decided to come back to Byron Bay.
Yeah,
Because you hadn't made that decision at the start.
No, when we left, we bought a place on our trip up here, rented it out, and then we weren't sure whether we'd go back to Sydney, or I had an inclination. I actually reached out to Shannon. I wasn't very happy with the way I left because I think deep down I knew that I wasn't going to come back, but I gave the impression that I might. Right, to maybe soften the blow. I felt a bit of guilt. Maybe Ivan had just left. Maybe I was selfish with the share payout, and I didn't want to kind of give the impression that I wasn't going. But I reached out to Shannon firstly because we haven't spoken that much, but that's just because we're busy. And I caught up with him for breakfast a couple of months ago when I was down there, which was really nice. I mean, he taught me everything. Like he was, and that's why I say helping people in terms of the purpose now. I mean, what a special thing to be able to what he gave me, and then what I can now give to the kids, or just set ourselves up. You can't really thank someone for that, you know.
We were very lucky, myself too. We were very lucky to have Shannon.
Lucky.
And Ivan.
Yeah.
In our lives.
Oh yeah, my life would be very different if I worked for a self-serving agent. Like, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Like I was Shannon's assistant. A lead would come in, you deal with it, go for it, stuffed up, don't worry about it. Like, get better, keep practicing your craft, focus on buyer work, don't worry about listings. You don't need to bring me listings. You just get buyer work because they'll come. I don't know anyone else that would done that back then anyway, that would have did that back then. Yeah. Right. So for me to have that, I mean, like I said, I could never repay something like that. It's so special.
He was a wonderful role model for us.
Yeah, really good.
The fact that he seemed to despise like the way most agents carried on.
Yeah.
And did his best, like in his own way, to teach humility.
Yeah.
Which we did our best to interpret.
Again, you mentioned me swapping cars and downgrading. Shannon did that way before me. But if you don't have those examples in your life, then it's less likely you're going to follow suit. So for all those reasons we mentioned and so many more, like I'm so fortunate.
What's interesting, when I did this podcast with Shannon,
yeah,
I think both you and I've both listened to it, and you both reached out to me like independently and said, we'd forgotten how amazing that guy, not forgotten, but like it was a nice refresher.
Yeah.
To hear Shannon speak and how articulate he was. And
I think, look, I mean, I spent, 15, 18 years there, or like, that's like most of my adult life, like almost all of it. So watching that definitely triggered some things, but the main one was guilt. Like I felt compelled to reach out, and just because I hadn't reached out. Shannon isn't great at keeping in touch with other people. His communication to me when I left and Ivan has been really low. And that kind of gave me the shits a bit. And then I'm like, why don't I reach out? Like I've been exactly the same. And I'm like, and then, let's catch up, breakfast. It was like, it's like I never left. So, we're all busy. So yeah, I probably felt a bit guilty of being so judgmental on that as well.
And how did he take it when you reached out?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like, great, can't wait to catch up. And I apologise, like I said, for the other stuff. And he's like, I never saw it that way. You know what Shannon's like. He's just incredibly wise and mature.
I don't think you could hurt his feelings like if you tried.
Yeah.
but like that's a skill set of his ability to be non-emotive
Yeah.
and rational and understanding, and it's incredible. And then just touching on Ivan, because you're working with
Yeah.
Ivan now.
Yep. Yep.
So like Ive's been probably in my life, initially for me the first 10 years was probably Shannon, but the last maybe 5 years, I think it's longer than that because I met them, no, it's actually way longer. I met Shannon in 2008.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I'm working with Ivan. So I've never really had a real estate coach. I've obviously got people around me I can ask questions, but that's sort of it, which I don't really do anymore. I used to do it a lot with Alex, like I've got this listing, I've got this buyer, or I do it with Shannon and Ivan. But I haven't had a coach since I've lived up here. And I read a book and it kind of said if you want to be better, everyone really should have someone to talk to. So I've got Lincoln as well, who's a mate. He's awesome. And I didn't want to, I still ask him things, but I thought as soon as I start paying for our relationship, it will change things. Bit too transactional. Like we catch up once a week. He's just moved here. We have saunas and he helps me with a lot of stuff for work and emotional stuff. And I reached out to Ivan from a more transactional point of view, and I was wary because I didn't really want to dip back into that Sydney scene, right? And we've got a group of the elite performers and that sort of thing. And I was like, do I really want to do that? Because I don't want to form any bad habits and kind of sacrifice some of the things I've implemented here and start focusing purely on winning again. So that's just a constant battle. Something I've got to just keep reminding myself.
I hear. So I'll acknowledge Shannon, Whitney, and Ivan Bresic as well, and even Lincoln Westerman too, because I'm a big, like I've worked with Link for I think what it was a year or two.
Yeah.
And he was like instrumental. Like there's so many things that I do today that I talk about today.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Were concepts that I learned from him. And in fact, we're in Byron recording this right now. We were supposed to be recording this in December, so I've rescheduled everybody. But the only person that I'm not recording with at the moment is Lincoln because he happens to be back in Bali.
Yeah, he's so like he trains all my staff, all the sales agents. I think there's 7 or 8 like sales or developing agents. He does year-long one-on-ones with them, and because I can't always be there, and I think I owe that to them. And they all say he's amazing. So yeah, lucky to have him. You were supposed to train. You were supposed to do this in December.
Yes.
So you were here. Right, I hope you don't mind me asking you this.
Go for it.
You were here, and then you called me and said, "Mate, have you seen what's going on in Bondi? There's a shooter," and you were like, "I need to cancel." You're like, "My kids are in Bondi, and I need to cancel tomorrow." If I'm honest, I was with Renato. I'm like, "Fuck, he's dramatic." I then turned on the news and I saw what was happening, and I was like, "Shit!" And I saw you the next day, and you were rattled. And I'm like. The thought of being away from your kids when that stuff's going on would be like, I couldn't actually imagine it.
It was hard.
Yeah.
So
So I wanted to ask, are the
of
kids
course.
okay? If you don't mind, like.
Yeah, sure.
And what did you learn, I guess?
Well, I'll just share with you what went down that day, because for a second I thought I was being dramatic too. So I was just getting to dinner. Was trying to get a table at Light Years in Byron, and I was doing that for my new partner, and I saw Chloe called my phone, and like just something felt like, why is Chloe calling me right now? Like it just seems like an odd time.
Yeah.
And I answered the phone because I was literally trying to get a table, and I said to Kelly, "Can you just do this while I talk to Chloe?" And I answered, and Chloe was hysterical. And she said, "I'm just letting you know someone's shooting people on Bondi Beach, but I've got the kids and we've got to safety and we're okay before you hear about it." And my response was like, "Is this a joke?
Yeah.
What do you mean?" And she's like, "Someone's shooting people. We can hear it. We can see it." I'm giving you like, she was hysterical when she said that. Yeah. And I was like, "Okay, but you've got the safety now." And she's like, "Yes, we're hiding in a basement with like 15 other people." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Then as I turned around, I looked at Kelly. Kelly's on the phone because her ex-husband and children live opposite the bridge where the shooting took place. Literally opposite. They had like a view of it. My friend, Jed, lives on the top floor of that building, and he watched the whole thing happen. And I was ringing him. But anyway, I'll just, without like getting into too many details, because actually I'll just share this. Even when Kelly's ex-husband called her and she put him on speaker and he's like, this guy's shooting people. Like he was a bit like, I don't think he could.
He was probably in shock.
Yeah, and some lady ran past screaming and she's like, they've killed my husband. And like Kelly and I just at light years trying to get a table sitting there and we're hearing this. And we looked around, we're like, why is no one else like carrying, like, why is no one else feeling this? And we left there and I thought those people must have thought we were proper nut jobs. Like, because two of us have sat down and we're like, my hands started to shake. All sorts of news started to come out. There's more shootings in Rose Bay, there's shootings. And I like started to lose it at that point because I didn't know what to do. And I was saying to Chloe, put me on the phone to one of the men, like give me one of the dads. She's like, it was just chaos. It's like, put me on the phone to one of the dads. And I was thinking like, what am I going to say to this dad? And like, what I was going to say is please protect my children because I'd protect your children. But like, we couldn't even get to that point. And then I got back to my hotel room and again, there's still like chaos. And I rung my dad and I couldn't talk. Like the words wouldn't come out. And I don't know how I got it out, but I was like, Dad, you have to get to Bondi. Like, fucking run there if you have to. I know they're not going to let you in, but you got to find my kids and get them because I can't be there.
Far out.
I've never felt so helpless.
That's a scary thought. That's really scary.
I don't think I've ever, like, and I don't want to take away from like, you know, I have a lot of Jewish friends and obviously it was an event that targeted the Jewish community and, you know, like, so without like being selfish about what went down, like.
Well, you didn't know at the time. All you think about is your kids.
You think about your kids and you're like, I live in Bondi Beach and I'm here and I thought this is one of the safest places in the world. Like what? And now I'm watching images of some guy shooting people. And, you know, for us, I think Chloe, it took a few hours, but she did get home and obviously she was safe and the kids were on the phone to me like, Dad, come home. Dad, we want like everyone was rattled. Chloe was rattled. Chloe's ex-husband, Kelly's ex-husband was like everyone. We were all rattled. Anyway, so I don't know what the lesson is, but I've never felt so helpless as a man. I felt like all my purpose was like
nothing else matters.
There's not. How do I get home?
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like the things you stress about, that happens, and like nothing else matters. You know?
Yeah, I just wanted to get home and I got the first flight out in the morning and I wanted to be there for my kids. I wanted to be there for my community.
How aware are they of what happened and is there any sort of residual?
No, okay, so this is what I think what we did very well. Like we very quickly had a game plan. So they knew the people were shooting. Yeah. Oscar knew that. I actually have a video of like Chloe sent it to me. She's on the balcony and you can hear the shots and everyone's running. Someone just happened to be recording and you can hear Chloe scream, get the kids and get them inside. And you see like, you just catch Mimi's face and the dread on her face is like the fear in the kids' eyes. Now, I don't want to take away, my kids weren't even in the thick of it. Yeah, so I don't want to take away from the, you know, the families, the Jewish families that were targeted. And, you know, I've seen a couple posts. So like this is insignificant compared to what people went through. But, you know, just as a father, as a Bondi local, as someone who had friends, you know, Jewish friends at the event, like, yeah, like it really, I felt this sadness. It was surreal to see so many police and helicopters over all the time in Bondi. It's like, what is going on? Then there's rumors that come out.
You're very rooted into the Bondi community too. So I could feel it when you were here. It was like devastation.
I felt really sad. Yeah. I felt sad for Australia.
Yeah.
I felt sad because if we're not like, how did this, like what just happened?
Yeah, it's awful.
And it's also like I said to one of my friends, one of my Jewish friends, I was like, Jesus, like, you know, like my kids were affected and, you know, like Jed watched the whole thing, another friend of mine. And he said, well, my family was there. Imagine getting shot at. Like, so the anger that I felt, you know, and the fear. And I was like, yeah, he has a point. My kids were okay. They were like at least 200 meters away. Yeah. So,
Anyway, thanks for sharing. Yeah, well, I'm glad.
Yeah. It's pretty,
right.
Very sad. I took my kids to the memorial though.
Did you?
I'll just touch on that. Yeah, I took them there. They They wrote a note on a rock, and I explained to them, because there's pictures of the people that passed away, and I said, yeah, there was an incident. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Just so, but we made a decision not to talk about it. And I actually asked my kids, went to my parents for a couple of days, which is in different, like in Drummoyne, because I didn't want them to hear the helicopters or the sirens. So
I mean, it's even though you weren't being shot at, to be just the fact that you have to deal with that stuff. It's this is a conversation no one should ever have.
It's just I'm sad for for the for Aussies, for the Jewish community.
Yeah,
very sad. I'm very sympathetic to everybody in the world. So yeah. Okay, can we talk about round 2? So you've come back into real estate.
Yeah.
This is what I'm really sort of intrigued. So what did you do differently when you came back?
What I do differently? Okay, so when I joined, I wasn't at Sotheby's. I was at McGrath, and I interviewed all the different agencies here and basically picked the one that I thought would have the best culture, right? So that was McGrath, and they're really good people. Didn't probably what they weren't. It probably once I started to get some success, it probably changed a little bit. But I think that's normal as well, particularly for agents. It's their business and they've been there for so long. This new kid comes in and whatever. So I started. I didn't have a listing. I put on a PA straight away. I knew I wanted to do that, but by chance someone had moved up from Sydney, because the talent pool here is obviously not what I was used to in Sydney. You want someone who's done real estate, who wants to be in a PA. It can take a long time to find them. So I put Georgie on. She's now a general manager. Fast forward 3-4 years later, so I got super lucky there. So effectively, I don't know if I did things differently, but just probably more specific. I focus on buyer work a lot, and I use that in my listings to show people that I have a different focus to all the other agents up here. I just use the skills that I'd honed in for 20 years to turn 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. I won my first 10 listing appointments. So I know how to sell like a sales agent. That's what we do. We sell ourselves first to win the business. If it's a short amount of time, ideally they've got to know you, right? That was that.
How did you get those 10 opportunities?
Prospecting, referrals, office leads. Yeah, okay. Like there were definitely a few where people in Sydney were like, I've got someone up there that's thinking of selling. I met, I was put on second contact on a few things, qualify, get in the door, and some office leads too. They were pretty generous with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what did you do differently? I'm just
differently.
What? So this is what you.
Yeah.
knew.
Okay.
What did you do differently?
So what I'm definitely doing differently now, which I think I was at the time, I was so interested in just getting listings, right? So things I did differently and do differently. I did a lot of self-promotion. I never did that in Sydney, right? So I wanted to build my profile quickly.
How did you do self-promotion?
Local paper, text, email, newsletter. Like when there was no weekly newsletter that we developed, Basic Whitney, this is what sold, this has just been listed in the local marketplace. I developed that at the office and then implemented that so they get an email every week, Will Phillips. Then I'm hitting the phones. It's Will Phillips from McGrath at the time, and then they start to put who is this person? Add in the echo, number 1 agent, from Sydney, moved up here. So the credibility I tried to build really quickly. And then basically I'd sit in a listing and I'd say, look, these are the top 10 buyers that I'm dealing with right now. All the other agents focus on finding listings. That's what they do in the office. I just focus on calling buyers and servicing them. So I sit with you. I've already got the person that's going to buy a house. I know their budget, know what they're going to pay, know what makes them tick. And that resonated really well. And then I'd explain things like, the service, the speed response time. The reason it's hard to answer what I did differently, I was doing a lot of the things I did towards the end anyway, right? Because I'd figured all that out. The things I didn't do, there was no head noise, in terms of, like, the beautiful thing is because I'm starting from fresh, like there is no ego, right? It's like I've got no one can judge on what I've done. It's like, oh, you had 10 listings, now you got 5. It's like I've got 0. Like, how it can't be any worse. So my time management was really on point, and my prospecting blocks.
Okay. And then what about like boundaries? So what boundaries do you have now that the old version of you didn't have?
So on the way here, I praised someone's house, what's today? It was the end of last week. Like, oh, we don't know when we want to sell, we want to buy, we want to move to the Gold Coast. It's like, yep, cool, I'll come and appraise it. It's 25 minutes from the office, not like 25 to 30, right? Which is ideally, that's as far as I want to go, unless it's a ultra premium property. When I looked, gave them the advice, we'll come back to you. Call me on the today. Yep, we want you to come over and we're going to have that further conversation. You said. I said, all right. I said, so where are you at with timing? Oh, we're not sure. We're going on holidays. In May, and so and I'd locked it in. I said, what about 8:30 on Tuesday? I don't do appointments on Mondays, right? So I said, I said I'm not available on Monday, and I said, what about 8:30? Tuesday, and yep. And then I asked those questions, and I said, actually, do you mind coming into the office next week? And she goes, oh, oh, it's, yeah. She goes, look, let me speak to my partner, and it's a bit hard. And she goes, oh, is there another day that works? I said, look, to be honest, if you can put yourself in my shoes, I've got dozens of people saying, can you come over and talk to us? Tell us what it's worth. Give us advice. My priority is to people who are on the market right now. That's my priority. And then second to that, to have these conversations, I need it to be efficient, and the best way is to be in the office. I would never have had that conversation because I'm so scared that another agent will be like, yep, I'll be there at 7 o'clock tonight and I'll do 1.5% and I'll sign it up. So saying no, don't do appointments on a Monday. You come to me if it's still ambiguous. If they're like, yep, we're ready to go next week, I'll be like, yeah, sure. But if we're just having another discussion, can't we do it on the phone, or you can come to me?
How'd it go down?
She was like, great, yep, no problem. I'll speak to my partner. I'll come back to you. That makes sense. No problem. I would have been fearful of saying that.
Any other boundaries?
I got heaps of boundaries.
Can I have one or two more?
What else? I do have a lot. Like let's say someone says, can we catch up for coffee? Right? Like I get that all the time, particularly people who are coming up to Byron. Hey, I'm thinking of moving up here. I know so-and-so. Do you have time to catch up for coffee? Sorry. Like, I don't know. To me, I'm either working or I want to be with the kids. So it's like, I'm happy to chat on the phone, and it'll have to be short, but time is so much more valuable to me than money. I think it is for most people anyway when they really think about it. So I don't think it's anything groundbreaking. I've just got a big thing on my desk that says no. Just learning how to say no. Listings, the amount of listings I turn down, particularly here, it's very different in Sydney because the average days on market here is 3 months. In Sydney, for me, it was 21 days. Here, they'll sap your time. They either won't sell, and you'll waste, you're talking 30-minute drive to get to some of these places, even 15 minutes, 45 minutes to show it. So to do that for something that is overpriced, I'm not playing that game where I'll tell the vendors what they want to hear. This is what it's worth. This is probably where you need to be. This is what you need to guide, and I'll tell them that in a way. I'll usually be, depending on the motivation and how much I want it, I'll bring it back even more conservative because I know they'll probably go somewhere else, and that's a polite way of saying no. I don't say, hey, no, I don't want your listing. I'll say, this is where I think it sits, and it's a price that I know you really don't want, so they're not going to choose me, but then I'll get it second time around.
So why would somebody list with you now? Why do people list with you?
I think so I think from an outside point of view, they see the brand, Sotheby's brand, particularly if you've got a high-end property, they want their home to be associated with a nice property.
Nice brand.
Nice brand. Yeah, it just elevates, right? If you've got an expensive property and it's on with a I don't know how to describe it because I don't want to name names.
Can I challenge you on that? Wasn't there a Sotheby's here before you?
Yes, yeah, there
So
was.
why didn't they have all the expensive
Look, he
houses?
was half.
I don't know who
Yeah,
that was,
he was in
so-
Sydney and he was kind of doing it half. You know, if he'd done it properly, he
Oh,
might have
right,
done well.
understand.
But yes, but even then he was getting listings. So look, they usually call the individual, not the brand. But I'm just saying the brand definitely helps. I think with the individual, probably the biggest thing is the previous results. Shannon gave me the best advice. The best form of prospecting is execution. You get a good result, they'll tell all their friends, but the market will see that price and go, shit, that's a good result. They're gonna like, if that was me and I'm selling, I'm calling that guy. So I'm not trying to sell for what the vendor wants. I'm trying to milk the buyer for every dollar, and that usually shows. So I think there would be a perception in the marketplace that I get really good results. I'd like to think so anyway. And then other reasons would be just a speed and service and reach. You know, we introduce more buyers. No one's going to work as hard. I'm not going to not return a buyer's call. I play on that because a lot of the local agents, sometimes you'll hear a buyer say, I've tried calling them 3 times, they never answer. In Sydney, it's very different. And that's why the trajectory here, it is, you know, it's definitely, it looks better than maybe what it is. If I moved to Double Bay, and I reckon I'd be, you know, mediocre because I wouldn't be able to work the hours they work. So, and you've got 20 like A-grade agents, you know.
Are there listings that you want that you don't get?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how come people don't use you?
The biggest objection I get is you're too busy. You got 38 listings online.
Do you own 38 listings?
Yeah.
Under your name?
Yeah.
You are pretty busy.
Yeah, but like, so I'll give you an example. One in the a property in the hinterland, you might show a buyer. You'll show 5 buyers through in some of these, particularly the expensive ones, in 3 months. How many buyers would you show through a property at 4 or 5 million in Balmain? How many buyers would go through?
You have 100 like at the
100.
moment.
So one property is 100 calls. One here is 5. So the equation, it's not all properties are created equal. That's not a lot of work, right? And then obviously we're super efficient, and you know the skill is there. It's like, okay, Mr. Buyer, what are you after? What are you looking to spend? Not ready to buy. You know, doing research just up here. So all right, my colleague Liz is going to show you through. She'll show you 4 or 5. You get to know the market. Mr. Vendor, look, they're not saying they're ready. Do you mind if they see it? Blah blah blah. Cool. Yep. Do that. That's not time. You know, a waste of time. I'm selling one today for 8.7. He called me last Tuesday. He said, I've got a unit in town. It's just settling. It's off the plan, and don't love it. I want to buy a house. I'm up here for 24 hours. Can I come and look at this one? That I'm like, drop everything, go and show it. So I don't know. I mean, you know what it's like. You just kind of picking your time,
Qualification.
Yeah.
I asked you before my ARIC talk last year. I think I called you and I said, "What's the most important thing?" And you said qualification. Mm-hmm. That was your response to it.
I always said that.
You didn't even flinch.
No, it's the most important skill in real estate. Asking good questions.
Yeah.
That's why he's such a good podcast host.
Yeah. You seem to have cracked the premium sector, and if I'm not mistaken, I saw something on Instagram somewhere like a $40 million house. So how does that happen?
I think, like I said, the brand it definitely does that. I just think they want some. I mean, if you're selling an asset of that value, you want someone who's pretty sharp, articulated, but confident. Like you want the agent to be able to handle, you know, a billionaire or someone that's not going to get pushed over.
So have you had inquiries on that house yet?
Yeah, I showed it just before this.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So just out of interest for the general public, what sort of people inquire on a $40 million house? Who are they?
You're typically looking at, very high net worth individuals. Which is an obvious statement, but I mean, that person was from Melbourne. They're either international or they're national.
Are they famous?
No, that doesn't. Look, think about it. I mean, they might be famous in the business world in their own right, but if you think about the amount, and I mean, this is the annoying misconception with Byron. They're like, oh, Hemsworth or something. I mean, like, there aren't that many celebrities here. It's, if you think the amount of, say, people that have $50 million plus, there's 99% of them are in business. Maybe 1% of them are on TV, movies, singers, right? Because it's just the scale. So we've obviously dealt with people like that, but they're the vast minority, you know.
Okay.
So if you look at the most recent sales in the market, say above 20 million, Chemist Warehouse founder.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. Hedge fund manager, another Chemist Warehouse buyer, Afterpay founder, developer. So none of these they're not celebrities. Then they're ultra high net worth individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the topic of success, one of the last conversations that we had last year at Bill's when we were in Sydney was I felt like you were momentarily starting to slide into perhaps some old ways.
Definitely.
Which was maybe I need a bigger house, maybe I need to do this. But then in the same breath, you said I still fly economy, even though you have the means to go above that now. And that would be nice with 3 kids trying to lug them onto a plane.
Yeah.
So how do you stop yourself from?
It's just a constant fight. We love our house, so we don't intend on going, but it's a small Queenslander. Like we've got 3 kids, we know we're going to have to upsize. But I think what you're referring to is just the general. It is that trap, and the hard thing is I really enjoy work. I actually love what I do. So that comes with more success, more demand for my time, and then usually more money, which you can use however you want. And it's like how successful do I want to be? So at the start, I was like, I've got an office of 14, 15. I could probably have 30. Like I've said no to agents that want to join. I've said you have to wait 6, 12 months. I think if the mindset was just grow, we could, we would put a lot more people on. And I haven't found out the perfect, solution to that, because it is a constant thing. I'm like, do I work really hard? I'm 40. Do I go hard for 10 years and then make a lot and then pull back? Which I think is I don't know. So the answer to the question is it's a constant battle. I'm definitely, just because I've moved to Byron, I haven't completely erased the work ethic and hunger, and I love winning. I love competing. That's why I'm a real estate agent. It's so good. I love beating other people at their craft. It's such a good feeling. You know what it's like when you match a buyer up to something that they weren't thinking of, and you do an off-market deal. It's like, that's skill. It's so rewarding. So I really enjoy it. But I prefer time with the kids. So it's that real thing. When I left, interestingly, when I was in Sydney, I did a tally. I was like, how much time am I spending with my kids when they're awake, right? And I was like, this much time, and I'm in the office this much time. They were 2 and 6 months old at the time. Now they go to school all day. So I'm like, I can't, it's like I can't just, and that's why I took a year off. I'm like, could I work from home? Or I kind of went too far the other way. So I guess I'm just trying to find, I don't know, my identity or a nice place. I don't think you ever find balance. I think it's just you're constantly counterbalancing if you're aware.
Do you like pressure?
Yeah, I love pressure.
Can I share an experience that I think is quite funny? I thought about on the way up.
Yeah.
Do you remember when me, you, and Lincoln were in your garage, and you and Lincoln were playing pool, and he was about to beat you?
Yeah.
And then you started you started haggling him so bad, so bad.
I was trash talking?
You're a bully. I said to you, you're being a bully right now.
Yeah.
You're being a bully.
Yeah.
But then
I grew up with 5 older brothers, 4 older brothers. And a sister. Yeah.
But then it came down to this one shot that you had to make. Or maybe you had that arcade game or something like that.
Yeah.
And you looked at me and you said something like, I love pressure.
I probably missed it.
You won the game. And I was like, that guy's a freak.
No, it's not
and
that.
You were like, I love situations that other people don't like. I love pressure.
Yeah, I do like pressure. I do I do. I think I just love games. I just love playing games and competing and winning, and I don't know, as a youngest of 6, that's what we did. It was,
So what sort of a dad are you?
I'm fun. Always games, playing, mucking up. I want my kids to be cheeky. They're not naughty, but they've got personality and charisma, and I think I'd like to think I'm a really fun dad. Yeah.
I think you are.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions, right?
Yeah.
I just by chance this morning when I was when I got to the airport,
Yeah.
I bumped into Gavin Rubinstein.
Yep.
And he was going to talk at a conference, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to interview a few people, one of them being Will Phillips." And I said, "Actually, if you had to ask Will any question, what would it be?"
Cool.
And his response was, he said he seems to have cracked the code because he was successful in Sydney and he's successful in Byron Bay. Can you ask him to break that down into 5 points?
The code. What have we got? Something. It's gone?
Do it again.
Thanks.
Great.
Was that there for the last hour?
Probably. Yeah.
What's the code? I think the first thing that comes to mind is not caring as much. I think that freedom of trial and error, and you see agents, right? Like look at, I hate using the same people all the time, but my lens is pretty limited. Look at McClay. He's a knockabout, fun, caring, and nothing sticks, right? If something happens, he just moves on. Like I said before, I've always been the same. It's like, who cares? Move on to the next thing. Definitely, and Gavin would be the same, right? You look at all the top agents, they don't care, right? I think.
Do you think can we rephrase that? Not that they don't
care.
care.
Care is it's a poor choice.
They're
of
resilient.
Words. Yeah.
Do you think that's a better word?
Very much so.
They're very resilient. So they can take a hit and just keep going.
Yeah, just on that. So whenever Alex and I have spoken to people or done talks or whatever, a lot of mention is on our dad. Our mum was definitely where the resilience came from. Like she has a glass eye, so she lost her eye when she was 6. She's given stillbirth. She raised 6 kids. She's had skin cancer. Her whole shoulder's been cut out. She is the most positive. She always said when we were growing up, think positive. That was her, like, if one thing I can remember. It wasn't like glass half full. It was just think positive. Things will work out. And that's such a beautiful thing to teach someone. Like resilience is like, it's got to be one of the most, powerful traits to get you through life,
So first point, resilience.
Sorry.
4 more.
Resilience. I asked an agent the other day. He was from Melbourne, old bloke. He came through my open home. Never met him before. He worked at Jellis Craig. Lovely guy. What was his name?
Maybe don't say it.
Ian something. That's all right. No, because I said, what would you tell a young agent starting out, right? And he goes, 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? So, he said, and this is the second point, is he goes, I love this saying, he goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's so good. That is the code in real estate. To help people, just give them something, find value to give to people, and they'll remember, and it'll come back to you. That's just life. That's karma, right? If you believe in that stuff, I definitely do, and the whole theory of buyer work is that exact thing. Don't call them saying, hey, you're selling. It's like, how can I help your situation today? You need advice. You need evaluation for finance purposes. But most importantly, are you looking to buy, and what can I help you find something? Don't care if you're renting. You don't own a house? Great. Let me help you get your first place. So yeah, I think that's I love that saying.
Okay. So that's your second point.
Third
point.
Curiosity. I think even so, the fact that I asked that question to that person, and I've been doing it for 20 years, I'm super curious, right? And I think when you've got kids as well, that's something you want to teach people. Just be curious. And like I said, trial and error. Try things. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I guess you'd always want to know if there's something, you can do something better, right? Even like how I said, I'm now engaging Ivan. I'm like, I want to get better. I'm curious to see what other people are doing. I've probably been a bit arrogant thinking I don't need a coach. And I think the curiosity of what am I missing out on? I think that's really special at all levels.
I'll interject. I've listened to all my podcasts that I've recorded.
Yeah.
I've gone back and listened to them. And the word curiosity is the common theme between
there you go.
everybody that I've interviewed.
Wow.
And it extends to the real estate sort of audience, or whether it's Baz Dubois talking about mental health and being curious. Curiosity is the one word that I guess, these people that I aspire to, people like you and others, curiosity seems to be the word that keeps coming up time and time again.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, you got 2 more points, and we're going to wrap up on that.
I think values is super important, right? So what I mean by that, probably more priorities. I think, and that's why it looks like from afar I've cracked the code, right? Because I've topped 2 different markets in pretty quick succession. But this time, because I've done it my way, and maybe people resonate more because I talk about things like family and time off, contentment. I think those sorts of. I think having good priorities and values, maybe they're blended. Even just thinking about things that I've done wrong in the past to people. Screw people over for a deal. That was in my early days. I'd never do that now. So maybe that seems like a wishy-washy one. The 5th one, to me, is probably the most important. It's the most unfortunate. It is unfortunate for real estate. If you want to crack it in real estate, because that's what he's asking. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, how did you crack the code twice?
Yeah. The second one, unfortunately, I've never seen anyone do it without it, is work ethic. You've got to fucking work hard. You do. You can't just rely on skill, because you won't have it, because the harder you work, the more times you screw up, the more you learn, the more robust you get, the more resilient, the more tools in your belt. And if you work hard, you're going to do that over 10 years, and then someone's kind of half-assed over the same amount of time, you're going to be way ahead. And Gav's obviously a super hard work. Everyone knows that. Alex, all the top agents in the country, they do work hard. I think that's a beautiful thing to do for a period of your life. But when you get to be an attraction agent, where people go, you don't have to prospect. I don't do prospecting. I haven't, since I've been here, I've done buyer work and I've chased people I've met, but maybe for the first 3 months, but I haven't said I'm going to call this street. I don't actually do that. I could, but I think once you get to that point where people go, I want to be, I want to use Gav, I want to use Alex, whatever. It's like, well, that's when you should be able to peel back and go, there's more important things. I've worked hard, but I don't think that should define your entire career. And you're a really good example of that. You're the perfect example of that. Because people want Adrian, and you don't have to sit there like a dog. You've set things up now where you can enjoy life, and you're probably going to serve your clients better for being in that headspace.
I have less clients now, but I have really good clients.
Yeah. So work ethic for, to crack it, and then that's up to you what you do from there.
So extending on those 5 points.
Yeah.
If someone started with you today in your office, what 3 things would you tell them to do?
Market knowledge. Yeah. Buyer work.
Yeah.
Prospecting.
Yeah. Same 3 things I'd say.
Look, I mean, is it the same?
I've meant so.
Look, real estate's not a. Yeah. It's not a market knowledge, because you need confidence to talk to people, and you should know your craft. Buy work, because again, we know that if you help people, it feels good. Firstly, it builds your confidence. You create a name for yourself. People want to work with you. Prospecting, because if you get lucky and you get in the door, or you can find opportunities, and then you're gonna move ahead faster.
Do you want to touch on your brother quickly, sure. Alex?
So if you want to. You mentioned it before we started.
Yeah, only because someone emailed me.
Because I asked, this is about the work ethic thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone emailed me. Actually, I won't say who it is. Doesn't matter. Said, look, check this out. There's 48 listings online. And then I'd heard through the grapevine that your brother's got 70 listings signed up.
He just keeps raising the bar.
Yeah.
So what you're getting at is?
What's your view on that?
I wouldn't choose to do that, but I wouldn't choose to do what you do either, right? So you're working. Have you stepped back still, or have you kind of found a middle ground?
Middle ground. I delegate as much as I take on.
Right.
So I'm right down the middle, and I'm very selective around what I take on.
Yeah. I think what I respect about that, so there's two areas. What I respect about that is he loves what he does, and he's so good at it, and he's super competitive, and it does bring him happiness. right? Which is a beautiful thing. I think, like I said, when you withdraw, I think there's probably, if Alex slowed down and he considered just stopping for a while, he may kind of find other things that he'd want to do, maybe, and maybe he's done that. But I think given he loves it so much, he's probably obsessed, but like all the best are, right? If you look at sports or whatever, they're obsessed. So I don't judge anyone's decision. The only thing I would hope people realise is it's not attainable for most people because he's a benchmark, and it's not always the best way to live.
Mm. You know what's interesting, and this is just something that Dave Gray from Lifestyle Property Group told me this, shared this, and I took it on board. I found myself like a little bit critical of agents that were just workaholics.
Mm.
But he said something that made me change my tune on that. He said, if you were talking to a potential Olympian and all they spoke about was their training, their nutrition, what they had to do, and they were always in the gym training, would you resent them for that? You'd probably respect them for that.
Absolutely.
So it's funny how like sometimes we...
That's a good analogy. I think, look, a couple of things. I think Australia does have a bit of a tall poppy thing where, people are like, look at him. If Alex retired when he was 50 and didn't work for the next 30 years and, started, enjoying his life, they'd say he nailed it. So to judge in this day and time when you've got only you don't know the full story, I think, I just don't think that's right.
And you guys have a good relationship, you and Alex,
great,
right?
really
You've
great
always had a
relationship.
good relationship.
Yeah. And I'd tell him, I'd say I could never do what he does. Even it's easier to say I wouldn't do it. I actually couldn't do that. He's too good. He's too committed, too disciplined. He works harder than anyone I've ever met. So he deserves what he gets back.
I think if someone like, some of these agents that you hear like James Ball or McClay, Longhurst will like come in through my market, I'll be like, oh, great. Like, how do I feel about this? But I feel like as you hear about some of these names coming through, like he's actually doing more. Maybe that's like when I hear he might have 70 listings or something, maybe that's his way of feeling a bit of motivation because like he wants to go to another level to really, because his identity is probably in being the number one agent. Do you think that's fair to say?
Agree. Yeah.
So he doesn't want to risk losing that identity.
That would have come into it. I think that's natural for anyone. It's like if you work in an office at a big McGrath, right? Or a big another like a Ray White, and you're the number one in your network, you don't want to lose that next year. It's just human nature, right? Because people are going to say, he's slipping or whatever. So not to say that that's healthy, but that's definitely what drives people. Keeping it up.
My last point, I know I've said that a few times, your communication. You're one of the most direct people, like what you say is so direct, typically unfiltered. Yeah. Sometimes can be too much, and I've told you that.
Fair enough, yeah.
But most times it's okay.
Thanks. I think...
Is that a skill set you've learned?
Yeah, I think so. I would put that down to being around... Actually, no, I was going to say Shannon. He talks in riddles sometimes, doesn't he? But he's very articulate. Like he's very good with his words, but he'll try and give you an example and it'll go in a huge circle and then it'll click. I don't know where I got it from, but I like clear communication. I mean, someone told me, I love this quote, someone said, communication can solve or cause most of life's problems. If you communicate well, then there should be no grey area. You've set good expectations. I mean, I think the best negotiators are very good communicators. You've got multiple buyers. You tell them what's going to happen and it plays out to a T. No one's upset. You communicate poorly and then the other buyers jump in and go, you didn't fucking tell me that. No, now you're playing games and everything blows to shit. So, yeah, I don't know where I got it from, but I think communication is a really, really good skill.
Agreed. Yep. Let's finish on Renata. Anything? I mean...
Thanks for asking about her. That's really kind of you because she's everything. Like she's amazing. Yeah. And like I said earlier, who you pick as your partner, it's a huge decision, massive decision. And she has never been, money driven or anything like that. She's from Perth. She's really family focused. She's the best mum, the best. I could cry. So no, she's special.
Yeah. Love that. Well, mate, I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. This has been good. I really like. Yeah,
I appreciate Renata too.
Thanks.
Because you guys were our best family friends.
Thanks. Until we moved.
And we missed you when you moved. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's still lots of photos of like Oscar and
Are
Audrey together.
Yeah. We've got on our at home. We've got this. It's called an Aura. It's a big screen. It's pretty big, and you can upload all your photos. So every holiday we go on, we upload it. So when we're walking around, it's like, I'll remember that. And there's heaps with Oscar and Audrey playing, and it's really nice.
They were really beautiful times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mate, I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, man.
I'm really proud of your success. I couldn't
Thanks.
be.
You too.
I'm so happy for you. I'm not surprised that you've achieved the things that you've done. Like, there was never any doubt that was going to happen. And mate, I just think you're one of the best stand-up guys I've ever met in my life.
You're a legend, mate. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
appreciate
brother.
you.
Thanks.